Generalul american Ben Hodges, fostul șef al Forțelor Terestre Americane din Europa, dă un răspuns exploziv într-un interviu exclusiv pentru Antena 3 CNN. Generalul spune că în cazul în care Rusia ar ataca România, ei bine, țara noastră trebuie să reziste, atenție, 2 săptămâni până când vine greul trupelor NATO din Statele Unite și Europa. România are obligații ca stat NATO să-și întărească apărarea, mai ales că avem infrastructură slabă, spune Ben Hodges.
I would like to ask you, Romania as a NATO country, how much and how strong should be Romania, and how much should we resist, let's say, bad situation if the Russians wants to attack a NATO country like Romania? I mean, we all know that from the first second, NATO will react from Romanian territory to defend every inch. But also we have the Article 3 of the Washington Treaty saying that we need a national capability to resist until other NATO troops are coming. So how long should we resist?
Okay, so excellent question, and good that you reminded your viewers about Article 3, which is what tells every nation that they have a responsibility to be prepared to defend themselves and to go help defend others. So Article 3, not so well known, but this is where the whole 2% thing comes from. And by the way, I think it will probably change to 3%. I think that'll be discussed at the NATO summit in Washington in July. But Romania is already on a very good path because Romanians, your leaders, understand the real threat that comes from Russia and the need for Romanian forces and people to be prepared to defend their country. A big part of defense is not just military, it's society. It's do people, or do we have a resilient society where people are not so easily manipulated by disinformation, for example, where people trust their government, they trust their military, they trust media to give them, to speak to them as if they were adults. This is important. And you think about how NATO defends is based on, in the early days, enhanced forward presence battle groups, NATO forces, host nation forces, stopping that initial advance, the initial attacks, air defense, land defense, Navy, and so on. A critical part of defense is also that the nation should assume you may be there for about 2 weeks alone. Whatever's here will be in the fight. So French troops, American troops, plus all of Romania's forces from ground forces, I would assume worst case 2 weeks. Now air power can arrive sooner. Naval power from other Turkey and Bulgaria could get here sooner perhaps. What does this mean? And why 2 weeks? Depending on how much warning we got, and did our political leaders have the courage to start moving before the attack, then that 2 weeks is a lot less. In most countries, most places, what we see, there will be reluctance to start moving because people will not want to be seen as provocative, like to create a reason or justification for Russia to come in. So if we assume that we don't start moving early, then I think Romania and all the countries, Poland, Lithuania, everybody would have to wait probably 2 weeks before additional forces arrived. Because if it's going from a cold start, that means you had to get transportation, you had to start moving, and as you and I have discussed many times, it's difficult to get into Romania and to move around in Romania.
Because of infrastructure and
transportation infrastructure is not really good. Part of a nation's defense depends on the ability to move inside the nation. So having good highways is not important just so people can make it to work more easily or make it to the Black Sea coast for the holiday more easily or up into the mountains in Transylvania. It's also for the ability to move forces quickly. The reason we have an interstate system in the United States, Eisenhower, when he was president, he remembered seeing the German Autobahns during World War II, and he remembered doing an exercise in the 1930s where he had to lead a convoy from the East Coast of the United States to the West Coast, and it took months. He understood that an important part of defense for America was having a good transportation network. I would say that's even more important